Hello and welcome to the Women's Network. I'm Elke and I'm your host. Today I can promise you a wonderful show. It's a fun show. We will be talking about dolls. In fact, our topic today is a doll's story. And I don't know what you can see at this very moment, but we have a whole set full of beautiful dolls. One doll prettier than the other. And it really brings me back to when I played with dolls. So without much further ado, I want to introduce you to my first guest, Sandra Borenstein. Sandra, so nice to have you here.
Thank you very much, Elke. I'm so glad to be here.
Tell the audience just a little bit about, like 30 seconds or so, how you got started or just something about yourself.
Well, I have a doll hospital. I'm known as a doll doctor or a doll doc. And I take loving dolls and return them to their owners, ready to be loved again. And I don't know if you can see the Snoopy dog. That is a new patient just in and waiting for my hands to touch him.
Great. Okay, Doc, we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Because I don't know how many times my doll needed some attention. But so now I know a few years later.
That's right.
And I have a second guest, Linda Mohn. Linda will tell you a little about herself, but it's a totally different direction. So let's meet Linda. Linda,
Hi,
so nice to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this. I started with dolls because my daughter, Sherry, left home and gave me a doll in her image for Christmas that year. And I loved it so much. She went on to make my other two children as well. And I retired from work and went into a local ceramic shop. And I've been making dolls ever since 1991. So that's about how long it's been. It's just been a whirlwind, but it's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. I've met a lot of wonderful people.
It's a beautiful way to start.
It sure is.
To start with your children and have the memory of it. Okay, Sandra, let's dive right into the show. And before we started taping, you mentioned something about the doll history. Let's talk about dolls per se. I mean, dolls have been around a long time. So give us some tidbits about dolls.
Well, you have absolutely hit on the most wonderful subject for me. I have done an ongoing study of the history and culture of dolls from the caveman, from the very beginning till the present, and as far around as the world can go, to every culture, every country, and even the countries that you don't know that there are dolls there, other than the ones that are just manufactured for the tourists, such as China.
Yeah.
And there are wonderful, wonderful stories of grandmas making dolls for children. And you never see them because they cherish them throughout their lives and they're buried with them when they're old.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is the story of and of course in Germany, the Dachenmachers.
The what?
And the Dachenmachers, the doll makers. And in France, the old ones where your reproduction dolls have come from. And Linda, I asked you about the little doll maker sitting, and you said his name is Maurice.
This is
Well,
Maurice.
Madame Alexander's father, when they came from Europe, his name is Maurice. Her name was Beatrice. He was the first doll doctor in New York.
Oh, how interesting.
So it's fascinating. The further we go into the study,
Yeah.
the more exciting it is. From Egypt and the pyramids and what is in the pyramids is especially exciting.
God, I can imagine now. I mean, you just kind of started me up thinking. It's true. I mean, every generation has their dolls, and I'm sure they
Exactly.
started at the very, very beginning, and the Stone Age probably was something for the little children.
Absolutely.
I would even like to cite the two dolls that are sitting below me, and the
Which ones
pictures,
are they?
the Raggedy Ann and Andy.
Maybe we
I
can see
made
that.
them the very first dolls 27 years ago because I just couldn't seem to be able to afford to buy something special for my sons and my daughter and for Hanukkah. I happened to see a pattern at the home sew shop. I never used the sewing machine. That goes to show that anyone can do something if they really have a desire. So I started making them for her, and I have a photograph of her at that time and how they are still well and loved, and wherever she has moved, they have gone with her. And there's also a large picture of her now with her husband and 2 children.
Well, we'll bring that up later.
yeah.
But I just want to tell you, like dolls are something cuddly, something you want to hug, you want to dress, you want to comb hair. I remember last year I was in Georgia and I went to, I happened to drive by the doll hospital of the Cabbage Patch doll. And I felt like I was in a real hospital. The way they had it laid out. In fact, they had when they were first born, and they had people that walked around in the nurses' gowns.
And they give adoption certificates.
Right, exactly.
I did. I have one.
It's just incredible. And that little doll is in my home, and I every now, I had to decide. I bought a doll, and I had to decide which doll am I going to take. The one with the blonde hair, the dark hair, the rollers in, and what about if she gets sick? And okay, so we have all these dolls. Now then we have very special dolls, and the special dolls are your forte, like the porcelain dolls.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about porcelain dolls. I mean, to me, I don't even like to touch them.
Right, they're not exactly the cuddly dolls that that you're speaking of, or the cloth dolls. Some of them they have a cloth body, and they have armature in them, so they're articulated. They can move their arms up and down. But there's such a variety in the porcelain, but the porcelain is very, very fragile.
Now, everything I see around me is pretty much porcelain doll.
In fact, every one of these dolls that I brought today are 3/4 porcelain, and then the bodies are cloth bodies. And so there is some sewing involved. Thank you. And some of them require different techniques. Some of them have the lady dolls or the older dolls. I do more detail on the fingernails, but this is what I start with. This is a clay, and it's poured from a liquid into a mold, and this is not the same hand, but that's the clay, and that's very fragile. And then I create fingernails when they don't have them.
My God.
So that's kind of an advanced technique, but it's a fun one and very distinctive of my dolls.
So it's really like lifelike.
I try to create that.
Now, who plays? I mean, it's not a doll to play with, first of all. Who
collects?
That's it.
Yeah, I think for people who just have the love of dolls, once you start, there are so many different types. Like this little old man who's a doll maker, and he's really fun because he's actually making a doll. He's got a brew head, which is an antique doll head, in his hand that he's polishing. One of the steps involved when you're doing a doll. And I love doing the ethnic dolls. I love the challenge of the natural skin tones. And
that's right.
It's just really fun. I like the dolls that really offer a challenge, but it's therapy as well.
Right.
People come to classes and just get so involved in every stage, every process. And
plus, it's a happy hobby.
It is.
And I hate to look at Sandra because hers is still a happy hobby. But when they come to you, they need to. They're sick, right?
Sick.
It's so dark.
Very sick. Look at poor little Snoopy, very sick.
Tell us a little bit about how you go about fixing. And what kind of dolls do you get? I know. Do you deal with porcelain dolls?
Yes, I do.
That we have porcelain dolls on
Yes,
the set?
I do. As a matter of fact, I am just finishing 2 of them. When the leg is broken or the arm, I send it to my friend up in Simi, and she does a repouring and she does the leg and arm. But when you're working with the head, if you do that, you may as well buy a doll, because you're not going to get the same love doll back. So I have sat there with pieces of porcelain, like a puzzle. And each one very carefully piecing it into the face, sometimes resetting eyes before I finish,
Oh,
so that they can have their face back with minimal scarring.
That's so incredible, because you can take a doll that belonged to maybe your father or mother gave you the doll, and you want to
Absolutely.
cherish that doll forever.
It's generational. I have from
Absolutely.
grandmother to mother to child.
Mm-hmm.
And they just are so precious
Right.
that they hug me when they're done, because they know that it's the same doll.
Absolutely.
And as people
Preserved
grow
it.
old and scar, well, that happened to the doll, and the child realizes it.
That's
Yeah.
great.
well, now let's talk a little bit about the current different dolls we have. We have, like I said earlier, the Cabbage Patch doll, which is a totally different look of a doll. I mean,
Oh,
it's all
yes.
of a sudden, it's more like your Raggedy Ann doll. And what else is going on right now? We have,
Well, they have plastic, fabric, and porcelain composition. That is a major doll. That usually is a fabric body, cloth body, and composition head, hands, and feet. And if they're baby dolls, like my little Madame Alexander Pussycat has lost her cry, this is what the cries look like.
I see, okay.
And if they are a pull toy, like I did for television, one time we did something for the practice, and they wanted him to talk, and this was Jimmy the Big Attorney,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
wanted him to say something as a commercial. All I had was this. Now, I don't
That
think
is
he
good
would be, so what we did was the set dresser and I took apart this little mechanism, took it all apart, took out the voice box, pulled the cord, and it retracted,
Oh
and
my
we were
God, that is
delighted.
Oh
sweet.
my goodness.
And then
that's
they used
wonderful.
their set, they had their technicians put in what they wanted.
oh,
For the doll had to speak. So that was that.
That's great.
And another time, I had a little pussycat doll that a lady brought in. It was hers when she was a child, and it was going to go to her daughter, who was 3 years old, for her birthday. The doll's name is Tina. The little girl came in. I'm holding the doll. Her hands are up, and the little girl said, "I love you too, Tina."
oh,
We were thinking, where's this "to" coming from? She didn't say, "I love you, Tina. I love you too, Tina." And she was ready to go home. She was reading the hand.
God.
The doll was signing to her, "I love you."
Oh, that's
Oh,
incredible.
that is incredible.
I called Madame Alexander in New York. They didn't know anything about it. Someone in their wisdom, when they sculpted the doll, added that sign.
My,
That's wonderful.
That is.
That's wonderful. And I want to point out to the audience, if anyone wants to know more about doll making, doll repair, taking classes, please call the number at the end of the show, because you'll find out how much there's out there for you to enjoy this wonderful world of dolls. In fact, I have a doll at home. It was my mother's doll, and it's more like the little Raggedy Ann doll, but it's an old doll, and I just hate to even touch it.
Yeah.
But I know it needs to it needs to probably, it's a cloth doll. It needs to be cleaned or something, and I don't know what to do with it because I can't.
I have those too.
And the
Thank goodness
hair.
for people
Don't.
like Sandra.
Don't.
So I probably should bring it to you.
Well, or someone like me.
It has little braids, and it's like a very special thing. And now that we're talking about dolls, I guess you have one special doll probably all your life. I mean, you'll probably have a lot of dolls.
I probably do.
So who are the people that come to you and want dolls? Or how do you market them, or do you
No,
show them?
I do. I was very fortunate in the beginning. My dear friend and teacher, Ellen Sherman,
My friend.
our mutual friend.
Our mutual friend.
She came to my house. I just got into doll making, been doing it for about a year, but I was very passionate. Like everything I get into, but the doll making just really, really grabbed me. I had several dolls, and she picked out 12. and I took them to the show, the biggest show we have out here in Anaheim, and I took, I had to show in the professional division because of, I had a resale license, and that threw me right into the professional division. And I received 4 first place and 8 second place, and I was ecstatic.
Wonderful.
I was so
Wow.
ecstatic. Well, I went home and I just worked and worked and worked and worked. And it was a whirlwind for me. I was notified by a telegram from a worldwide doll magazine. They wanted to publish a couple of my dolls. And now I've been published many, many times over. This doll and this doll have been front cover of magazines, and I've just enjoyed such a tremendous success. And
That's great.
now I teach classes, I teach seminar classes, and I sell my dolls through the magazines. People will contact me that way, or at the competitions they'll see a doll and they'll get the phone number off of it. I've slowed down a lot. I have 13 grandchildren.
My
which
God.
occupy-
She's got me beat.
That's more than the dolls.
I've got
a
7.
lot of my time, and 6 kids. So
You beat me there too.
I would say no wonder you got into dolls because you had to supply them.
yeah, they do. They've all got their dibs on different dolls. But
great.
now
How
I
wonderful.
still have people that come and take classes, and it's very therapeutic.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we had a clip of I don't know whether they are still want to show it, but we had a clip of some of your favorite dolls, and I don't know whether they still want to go ahead with it or not. Otherwise, well, okay, here we go.
Okay, this doll is one of my first dolls. It's Joey, and I brought this one because this one is really a boy doll, but you can make them into a girl. This is
she's
Bailey.
beautiful.
This one was in a magazine, and it's one of my very favorite dolls, Indian Bailey. By original artist was Donna Rupert. Cindy Marshner Rolfe was the original artist of Joey, the one before. This is Shay, a very popular doll. I think everybody who's made dolls has made Shay. Original artist again is Donna Rupert, and I just really love that one. This one is Aisha, and original artist was Rita Prescott. I made her, I think, in 1995. And
She's
I
beautiful.
have such wonderful costume designers too. Bobby Crane made this one. This is Dolls Cashin by Cindy Koch. And Bobby Crane made several of these outfits. Edie Licker is another seamstress of mine, and Ann Doty. This is Alexa. This is this doll here, actually, in front of me. She was on a front cover magazine. The original artist was Linda Mason.
Great. I mean, I just got a doll from Sandra.
Look at that.
Because
Isn't that
I couldn't do
adorable?
without. This is just a little baby.
That is so cute.
Those dolls really look lifelike. The pictures we just
Thank
saw.
you.
I mean, if I wouldn't know they were dolls,
Oh, they're beautiful.
you know, I'd be thinking they were real.
Well, again,
People.
I'm a reproduction doll artist, and those are just my interpretation of a doll.
Oh boy! Now I'm real happy now.
Well,
Sandra, you were really involved with your dolls, on the movie set. Tell us a little bit about that.
we talked a little bit about the practice, and I'd done the Jenny show, and they wanted a special doll for that, and it was an evil doll, so we did that. But this is the one that I loved working on the most, and this is from the book The Titanic, and the set dresser found me and wanted to have 2 dolls because they need 2 of everything, and if they don't have, they just need backup, and there she is. And they asked me to design and make the clothing for the little doll that was going to be on the Titanic. And at that time, I did not know anything about this movie. And as a matter of fact, my daughter-in-law asked me what I was working on, and I told her, and she was just like, oh my God. She said, it is going to be the biggest blockbuster of the year. And it turned out it was.
How
Great.
wonderful.
And it had many shots in the film.
Wonderful.
Now
and-
you brought a video with you, I don't know whether we are ready for it, but
Can I tell you about the
can we go ahead and see your video? There you go.
Okay, those again are the two dolls that I am so proud of. It was 27 years ago when I first decided to make the doll. And there they are. That's a little girl getting her doll back. It came in and tattered in rags, and I repaired it inside out. You see how happy she is. This is a little girl that was adopted by, believe it or not, a white family who wanted her to have her own doll to identify with. So there she is. She has her own, and look at her happiness. And here's a group of children working on their dolls when I taught in the after-school program. They're making their own versions of whatever doll they want and however their faces are going to look. And we had some very original faces.
I bet you had fun dolls.
Wonderful.
The imagination of children putting a
about that
doll
one.
together.
I
Now
tell you
tell me about
about
this
this one.
little guy.
Okay, that doll is not a for sale doll. That doll is called the Wacky Dolly. They are all different, and they are all to go to hospitals. A few of them went to the burn center. Adrienne Alpert got one, and then I got a call that the fellow next door didn't have one, and even though he was burnt. I am also going to try to get the women of the Masonic Lodge that my husband's involved in to work on either Raggedy Ann's or these, since we have visited the Shrine Hospital and see the need for it. So I'm always looking for people who is going to want to do an original Wacky Dolly.
Well, you do a lot of, is this like volunteer work you're doing, or?
For this
Well,
is,
for this
my
is-
doll hospital is a business.
And,
But this is something I feel that if we are given a talent, given a gift, we really need to do something within our talent to do a little payback, or just give it to others.
Yeah.
And this is my way.
Well, you know, there are probably a lot of viewers out there who would love to do something fun, get involved in something. So I would say maybe if they call the number, I refer them to you, and you can guide them
Absolutely.
to doing something really fun. And the same goes for you, Linda, with your
Absolutely.
projects. Because, like I said at the very beginning of the show, it kind of gives you an uplift. You know, your spirits are in a high gear. I think when we talk about when we are involved in something that is sort of dear. I mean, like I said earlier, I feel so comfortable today. I feel just great, you know, because usually we talk about women's issues and whatever and so on. Well, we're coming close to the end of our show. I know it goes real fast, especially when you're having fun like I am having. Linda, do you have anything to say to our audience, maybe to like I said, to the women out there, and you know, how to get involved, or something profound? Like, I know when you started, you said you started because of your daughter.
That was my
That's such a
inspiration.
wonderful story, the inspiration. So if you want to just say a few words of.
Well, I think there's a vast number of people out there that don't feel confident in the things that they do, and they're not crafty, or they've never been creative in their life. And I've been so fortunate to meet some of the most wonderful people. I've had men in my classes also. Usually it's women, but children as well. And I can't say enough how happy and the people are there, and the camaraderie and the love that goes into this, and they share it and they get excited for each other. And I understand that we're going to have a number at the end of the show for people to contact to get involved. But
Right.
believe me, anybody can do it. If you have arthritis, there's ways to work around
that's
it.
wonderful.
There's I have it in my thumbs, and I work around it. There are ways. It's delicate, but it's a very worthwhile project and endeavor to take on. It's just a
Well, you just said it so perfectly. I mean, you don't have to be, I mean, there's no excuse if you really feel like doing something fun. And Sandra, you will keep on repairing, but I know
Absolutely.
you probably have something to
Absolutely.
say to our audience.
Okay. Just the fact that as long as there are people with two working hands and a big heart, they can make a little doll and donate it to a hospital or read the newspapers. You will find who is in what hospital and where. And as far as dolls that need to be repaired, they should never be thrown away because they're so full of memory. And they can be brought back,
yes.
not brand new,
That's
but ready to
wonderful.
love again
Oh,
or
yes.
to give to another child. I have 3 children and I have 7 grandchildren, 1 grandson. And I know that they know when they come into my doll hospital, any little doll that has a yellow paper on it, they can't touch.
Oh.
But they do know that they can take from my stock and play and work with.
Terrific.
That's
That's
wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
so-
Well, I tell you, we are at the end. This has been such a wonderful
I'm
show.
so
I mean,
glad we were.
I hate
Thank
to
you.
break loose because, like I said, I feel so cuddly and comfortable, and I want to take some home, and I want to come and see your doll hospital.
I wish you would.
So I know there's always hope for a doll, and you said it. There is a doll kind of you take it along, not new, but even if a doll is old, you just go on. I want to thank you both for bringing
Thank you for
your
asking
dolls
us, Elke.
Yeah, thank
and
you
for
for
being
inviting
such
me.
wonderful
Absolutely.
guests.
Thank you.
And maybe we can do it again sometime and have some children on the show and have
Absolutely.
them ask us some questions.
Oh, that would be
Okay,
lovely.
thank you so much, Linda and Sandra.
Thank
and
you.
to my
Thank you.
audience, I want to say thank you so much for watching us today. I hope you had a lot of fun because I certainly did. And again, if you want to know more about dolls, doll hospitals, doll repairs, whatever, call the number at the end of the show and you will not regret it. And until I see you again, bye-bye.